That's right, 1959 Chevy, one of the most iconic cars ever made. They only made a little over 22,000 of these El Caminos, and we've got one. Let's see if we can't get this one back on the road. Well, here we are, and I'm super stoked to be working on this car. And if you guys have been following along, we're deep into the revival, and I mean deep. We started with a very rusty 1959 Chevy El Camino that I purchased off Marketplace about 7 years ago. And we started with the rear end, finding out that that thing was rusted beyond repair. So ultimately we replaced it before moving up front and restoring the whole front suspension, where I narrowly avoided tragedy. Well, thank God I had on my safety beard, and that my shirt took up most of the damage before the grinder hit my throat. Now with the whole front suspension rebuilt with all new tie rods and ball joints and bushings, we redid all the brakes and brake lines. It was time to move up front and start working on the motor. At least we've done all the hard stuff, and we're getting to the fun part now. But now we got to pick up right where we left off in the last video, and that's trying to get a flywheel on this dang motor. It's given us so much trouble. So now, after ordering the wrong flywheel twice, we finally got the right one. It's a 168 tooth flywheel. I got that from Landon, so if you're watching, thanks, man. And now, well, I mentioned that this thing's been fighting us the whole way, and we're not done. I decided before we turn on the cameras, I'd go ahead and test fit this thing. With all the trouble we've had, I put it on there and it wouldn't fit. I mean, it's the right one, but I'm sure the machining is not that great a quality. It's made in China, but that center hub opening is just a hair too small for the crank end. Now, I've been working on it off camera for about an hour, just kind of lightly filing and sanding that center opening, trying to just remove the most minimum amount of material to try to get it to fit on here, and I think we're close enough. So once again, I'd like to try to test fit this flywheel on here, throw the bell housing on, and that bell housing mounted starter, see if everything's jiving. We want to make sure this thing's going to work together before we get this thing mounted in the car. So let's do that. All right, well, let's try to get this on here. Still a little tight, but I think it's going on there. I'm going to use a little mallet to persuade it. Oh yeah, there we go. No Loctite yet. I just want to test fit this. Alright, let's try to get the starter on here. Alright, well, this whole project's been one step forward, two steps back. It's hope this starter works this time. Let's take a look here. Everything's in the way here. Alright, here, check it out. See if we can even see up there. It's kind of tight now with the right size flywheel, but you can see, well, maybe you can't see, but, well, there's the starter and the flywheel, and I could see up in there, the gear looks like it's going to mesh just right with that. So maybe I should hook up the battery and give her a test spin and see how it sounds. Alright, I got the starter all hooked up to the battery. Let's cross our fingers and hope that this cranks it over. Oh, perfect. It sounds great. We just got to get the clutch and pressure plate installed and bolt up the transmission and get this thing in the car. Alright, I got to run to town and stop at Napa to get that clutch and pressure plate. And then I'll probably head out to Oliver's and drop off that core support. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take this core support over to Oliver's and see if he can't help me out with it. And yes, I'm loading in the trunk of my Nova. The truck's not working, so this is my daily driver still. I've been driving this car for 34 years. And hopefully I can get this to fit in the trunk. Just like so. Alright, I'm back, and I got the clutch and pressure plate. And I want to say thank you to Oliver for helping us with all that rust damage. You know, we're out of money in the budget to buy parts, so we got to make what we have work. So thank you to Trad Rod and Customs for helping us out with that. And why don't we go ahead and get this clutch and pressure plate installed. Alright, I'm in here trying to get cleaned up so we can get this all put together. And I am strapped for space. Look, we're up against the cabinets with this motor hoist, and I'm still overhanging the car. I can't even get in here to assemble this, let alone set this down on the ground so I can mate the transmission up to it. Which, I said I wasn't going to paint, but I mean, how hard is it to throw some paint on it? So to make some room in here, I got to roll this car back, and well, these tires just will not hold air. And the new ones that we've got out here, I still need to clean up and paint, so we're not ready to put those on yet. So I'm going to have to fire up the air compressor and fill these tires up so we can roll this car back so we can get busy putting this all together. Let's go. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but it almost looks like the lip of this housing here is not fitting into the opening of the bell housing. It should go. There is a little bit of debris there. Let me clean that out a little bit. The opening of this bell housing could be cleaned up a little bit. All right, I'm still working at this, and I got this fitment tool, and it just goes right in. I feel like that the bearing housing is being hung up here on the bell housing, so I'm gonna go ahead and loosen up this bell housing, and maybe having a little bit of play in there, and it'll all mesh that way. I mean, this is typical. They rarely just go right in. All right, I better get this fork lever installed in the throwout bearing as well before we get too far and I forget about it. Now, I also don't have a clutch fork boot. I do have one for the smaller size opening, but this has the larger opening, which is a special size boot. After researching, a lot of people don't even run it. That's what we're gonna do because we don't have it. So I'll get this installed here. Alright. Try to wrestle this thing in here again. I could put it on a roller cart. That might make it easier, but let's go for it here. Through the throwout bearing. Now it's going. And ever gingerly tighten these back up. All right, well, that's what I'm talking about. Finally, we got it all together. Now this motor's been fighting us every step of the way. I'm sure it's not done, but at least we're to the point where we can install it in the car now. That's a major milestone for us here. So I'm going to go ahead and get things ready to get this thing installed into the car. I was getting things ready and checking it out in here, making sure we're all good to go. And remember, this thing had been in a flood, so the frame rails were full of sediment and silt. And same with that tunnel back there. I know you're not going to be able to see it from here, but that tunnel was full of silt and dirt and sand, acorns, all kinds of stuff. Actually, let me show you this pile that came out the other side. With this big hole cut in the floor, and you see right through here, there's just a pile of stuff on the floor. There's still plenty more in that transmission tunnel. I'll probably have to rinse it out with a hose or something, but let's go ahead and get this thing up and installed in the car finally. All right, this will be our first attempt to get it in here. Now I kind of rolled the car back in a little bit because we're gonna have a hard time rolling this thing in on these boards. I did put a new transmission mount on, and well, let's give it a try. And another thing that's going to make this tricky is I don't have the right swivel and load adjusting attachment here, so we're going to try to use this ratchet strap to keep everything pointed where we need it as we get it in here. It must be nice to have a real shop on concrete floors and maybe even a lift, but we make it happen here. to come off the board, which I almost did. Having a balance issue here. All right, we're getting there. I figure I'd stop and show you what I'm kind of dealing with here. Now, for whatever reason, well, it's probably because I'm on gravel on a board, but this thing is tilting. It doesn't really pick it up on camera, but it's throwing this whole motor off to the one side. And as I tried to align things, I'm just running out of space with all this. I mean, look, you know, this is almost already on the A-frame here. I know when I set the motor on this suspension, it's going to be on this. I remember doing that before, and we're going to struggle getting this all back apart, but we're getting there. You know, it'd probably been easier to get in if I didn't have the starter and the distributor. And well, you can see on this side, the oil pump is resting on this manifold. I could have probably pulled these manifolds out as well. Might have made it easier, but I got some cardboard in here just so I don't puncture that oil filter. If it wasn't already full of oil and all this stuff wasn't already hooked up, it'd probably be easier. But we're getting there. I think now we can go down a little bit. You know, I'm trying to keep this. I don't got the right equipment, guys. Making do with what I got. But we're a little off-centered. I could kind of push it over. You know, it's kind of hanging here, so I could kind of swing it over and try to guide it in there. But we're running out of room to maneuver. So I think I'll come down a little bit. Let's see. You know, here's the motor mount. We've got another 8 inches to come back. And, well, the distributor is already 2 inches away. So we're going to have to try to come down. But as I come down, the oil filter is already resting on the manifold. So, you know, typical. It ain't nothing new. I'll just keep at it. Like I said earlier, if I had a proper shop, this wouldn't be so hard. But we'll make do. Slowly. Alright, I need to get a floor jack under the tail shaft of the transmission and bring it up a little bit, and I think we'll be golden. Easy. There. right, we're in. We're set on that motor mount, and same over here. I just need to run some bolts in here, and then I have to get under there and get that transmission mount bolted up to that cross member. But heck yeah, we're in. Well, all right, she's on the ground. Check it out. She's all bolted in and on her suspension, rolling. I got to kind of tighten up the motor mount bolts on this side, but I got the tranny bolts all in, and this one's all locked in. This one gave me a little bit of trouble. I just had to use a pry bar and get that one to line up. I just need to tighten it up now. Still need to put the exhaust on, and well, of course, the next puzzle we need to figure out is the Z-bar and these clutch rods going down to the clutch fork. And well, I did notice that the Z-bar is going to go right here where I ran this brake line, so I'm going to have to reroute this brake line. But heck yeah, this is a major milestone. You know how long I've had this car sitting in my driveway, and this motor was on that engine stand, and now it's finally running and in the car. Yes! All right, now as much as a victory as that is, we still got a lot more to do. I mean, my goal is to have this running and on the road in 2 months from now. So I got a lot of work. And of course, it doesn't give me much time to celebrate. But tonight, I'm going to bask in the glory. Now, in the next video, we need to also look into the fuel system in this thing. I've never dropped that gas tank or looked at it or investigated it at all. So we don't know which, well, we're pretty sure it's not going to be any good. I don't know if it needs to be patched or just if it's trashed or if we could save it at all. I also got another one in the scrap pile that's rusted through on the top side. Maybe between the two we can weld something together. Or maybe we just get a whole different tank altogether. Make something work. I even got an old racing fuel cell that we ran in the bus for a while. If I have to, we'll throw that in the back. And once again, I want to say thank you to everyone that's helping me with this project. And a huge shout out to all my members. Thank you. I couldn't do this without you guys. So please, if you're not a member of the channel, consider joining the membership. And don't forget about the merch side as well. We're going to be coming out with some new designs, so why don't you go over there and get what you can while they last before they're all gone. And don't forget, coming up in July is the 4th annual Shakedown Car Cruise and Car Show. So make sure you're there, and I'll see you in the El Camino. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and you like, comment, and share the video. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And until then, peace.